Hello, everyone. Quick mic check. Is everyone able to hear me? If you do, please give me a response in the chat window. You can find that at the bottom of your screen. Wonderful. All right. I want to introduce myself. I am Tracy Zatinig. I'm the marketing manager at Amplify, and I am here to introduce today's webinar for the Ask the Experts MDM series. Today, we're going to be talking about managing orders and inventory in Salsify to drive D2C and marketplace commerce. We are joined by an esteemed panel of experts that will discuss how brands are driving D2C and marketplace commerce using Salsify's native orders and inventory capabilities. So let me start off with a little bit of housekeeping. As with all of our Ask the Experts webinars, we do record them, and you will be getting a recording of this session delivered to you in the next couple of days via email. But if you are ever curious about this webinar or any of our others, you can go to our website's resources library, and you will find all of them listed there. So there's a wealth of knowledge on multiple platforms, but definitely on Salsify. So let's take a moment and get to know our experts before they start giving us their expertise. So today we're joined by Amitra Timpton, who is Amplify's Salsify Practice Director, Jen Yum, who is a senior consultant, solution consultant here at Amplify as well, and Hina Kaldar, who is a senior product manager at Salsify. So I'm going to hand it off to these very intelligent people and let them tell you everything there is to know about commerce inside of Salsify.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction, Tracy.
You're welcome.
So welcome everyone to the webinar. So what we're actually going to get started with speaking on this particular topic here is really going to be around e-commerce. And we're going to take a dive into the strategies and what we're seeing, obviously, from the Amplify customer base with prospects, as well as what Salsify is seeing from their customers, and obviously get into the tool a little later on. But what I wanted to kick us off with is something that I know a lot of our attendees, most people know, is how fast things move in the e-commerce space. So we're talking about businesses that are really focused on getting their items to consumers, and we saw that come to fruition in an extreme way during the pandemic. But what we do have the benefit of having Jen, who, as Tracy mentioned, is a Amplify solution consultant, but he's also worked at a particular brand where they focus on e-commerce. So I want to start off by getting some insights from Jen on what he's seen in the space and how obviously we use that to work with our customers. But Jen, can you go ahead and get us started there? Off mute, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm very excited to be talking about the topic today. It's near and dear to my heart. I spent a lot of time working on e-commerce and just really excited about the offering from Salsify. So when we look at that a little bit later on, I think you kind of share my enthusiasm there. Before we look at the actual platform, like Amitra mentioned, I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of how we got here and just kind of highlight some of the importance of evaluating some of these new trends and tools in the e-commerce space. Obviously, you all kind of understand that, which is why you're here. But I think it's kind of still good to kind of highlight some of these things. So, to kind of step back a little bit in a general sense, obviously in the e-commerce space, things move very quickly, and it's important to adapt and be able to take advantage of new opportunities. The pace of change in the industry and just kind of technology in general in the near past has been tremendous, and we've seen just all kinds of different changes. So basically, what that means is the consumer behavior has been rapidly changing, and businesses that are doing well are the ones that are kind of adapting to the behavior. So just to kind of talk about my past a little bit. So I started my career in the e-com space about 20 years ago. So obviously everything was very, very different back then. Something that I think kind of differentiates like what happened back then versus now is back then, nobody really knew what they were doing. So you just kind of tried everything. I remember actually reaching out to like individuals that had websites and trying to make deals with them to place banner ads on their website. Those kind of things obviously are not happening now. Even companies like Amazon, I remember when I first used to order from them, I don't know if anybody else remembers, but they used to send like Post-its with Amazon branding in the boxes when you would get them. Just, trying all kinds of different things. And I think in some respects, we've lost that a little bit. And I think needs to be some aspect where we need to start thinking of, creative ways to reach out to customers again. So yeah, after that period early on, of course, I think people kind of settled into working on like CPM and CPC advertising, and then working on SEO, and that just kind of became like the sole focus for a lot of people for a long time. But kind of fast forwarding to where we are now. The traffic has gone from predominantly desktop to predominantly mobile. We're really not able to just reach the customers with just SEO anymore. And really, the most successful clients that we're working with now are taking a multi-pronged approach, reaching out to customers where they're really spending their time. And right now that means mostly with social and marketplaces. This is so effective. We sometimes even see like third parties selling products on these channels. So this is why it's such an important topic, and something that we want to kind of help focus on. And the commerce module that we're going to be looking at today is really designed to help you not only with the engagement of the customers at these channels, the social and marketplaces, but also help you capture and manage sales as well. So with that, so those are just kind of some general ideas, but Hannah is going to go over some more specifics in terms of examples that we've seen, and give it off to her.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that, Jen. I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. I'd say truer words cannot be spoken in the sense that like e-commerce is a landscape that is changing year to year to year. So I got my start in e-commerce back in 2014. I was working on the retailer side, and I'd say even just from a fulfillment perspective, I've seen such a change. Like at that time, dropship, for example, which is now a form of brands sending a product directly to a customer, was really limited to only heavy, bulky items. And now those programs have expanded so much. And now brands are also thinking a lot more about what their direct fulfillment strategies are. And one of the big catalysts to that direct fulfillment strategy shift, and really thinking about, expanding beyond just the typical 1P platforms, was the pandemic. So, early in the pandemic, something that no one really could have seen coming was like Amazon, for example, had said, hey, right now we're only going to take inventory for essential items. And so any POs that have non-essential items on those will be truncated. And then even on FBA orders too, like they wouldn't be housing any items that weren't considered essential. So brands who had Amazon as a really heavy part of their strategy were affected by this, because their orders weren't being taken, and then they weren't able to get their products into the hands of their consumers who, would want or need those in those times. And so that really was a catalyst to figuring out for brands, how do I get my products where my customers are and where they need them? And direct fulfillment was a great means to do that. One nice thing about direct fulfillment is there's a variety of ways to do it. So there's the marketplace method, which is, leveraging like an Amazon Seller Central or a Walmart marketplace and listing within their marketplaces to actually have your listings side by side with first party listings as well. There's also social. So, Facebook sort of in response to the pandemic early on launched their checkout capabilities for their checkout on Facebook, and they already had checkout on Instagram capabilities as well. And then Google has been working on building out their buy on Google shopping capabilities too. So there's that social aspect, and then also own channels. So we've been seeing from a lot of customers over the course of the last year that there's this really renewed focus on making sure that their brand websites are not just, content driven and a great place to learn more about products, but also one where consumers can actually check out and buy those products right at that point of discovery, right at that point of learning where you're able to get more of that product. So it's interesting to see how these external factors are really affecting the strategy of brands. But we are seeing a big shift in brands wanting to diversify their sales channels, and marketplaces has been a really great way to do that.
Yeah, that was great. And I know from the Amplify perspective, if we were to just take the past year or so, right, where we were working with Salsify customers on their implementations, where the conversation most of the times where we feel like, we're behind. Yes, it was reactionary, obviously, to the pandemic, but, one could argue you waited quite a bit of time for something like this to happen. But what I will say just about different brands that really go into diversifying their strategy, right, for sales is, for us, a lot of that is how are we consistent with how we're representing our products and our brand image. And of course, for us, it's always going to tie back into the data and really getting that ROI for, we're utilizing these different platforms and these channels, but are we actually communicating and speaking the proper language and connecting with the consumers? So I think, yes, starting with the strategy, always want to have a big picture of what the roadmap looks like, where you're looking to go. But of course, there's always going to be that tactical element where we talk about, okay, now that we've determined we're moving forward with the social aspects of selling or the marketplaces aspect of selling, how are we actually managing our processes and our data? And yes, another plug, we're going to get into how all of these things tie together in a bit here, but already good stuff starting out. Now, Hina, I know in speaking with you and obviously the work that we do, there are various ways to employ, right, this sort of strategy. So I want maybe to walk through just a couple of examples where our attendees can get an idea, maybe where they could utilize some of this.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, we've literally seen all different kind of strategies for how you would employ marketplace strategy, from the people who are beginning to some people who are more advanced, and everything in between. So, one classic strategy that some folks have is they just want all their products in all of the places. So they want to make sure that anywhere their customer goes, they're able to find their product, they're able to check out, and they're able to get it shipped to their home. Now, on the same token, we also have customers who are looking at their different endpoints they want to sell on and are thinking about them differently. So, for example, I had one customer who had mentioned to me that in their research of where their products were being sold, they saw on eBay that there were a ton of product listings for older products, ones they didn't carry anymore, from resellers. And they're like, actually, this would be a really great platform for us to list our out of season products that, our distribution networks wouldn't necessarily take, since they're working with a lot of mom and pop shops around the country. Or, if they have excess inventory, that was a great channel for them. And then also end of life products too, ones that they're planning on sunsetting within the quarter. So they had mentioned not only that was a place that customers were going to look for those products, but additionally, since they're working with a lot of distribution networks that are heavily set in traditional bricks and mortar ways, they were actually able to collect, better margin on their products from listing them specifically on eBay, where they're able to control their pricing and whatnot. So that I thought was a really interesting example of someone who's looking at a very marketplace specific way. Another example of that would be, we have a lot of customers who leverage social channels for specific kinds of promotions. And so we worked with a few of them who have done, influencer promotions, and then made those products checkout enabled within Facebook and Instagram. We've also worked with folks who were doing special edition drops. So they've only got a limited amount of inventory. And rather than listing them across multiple different platforms or trying to decide what city is it going to be located in, if they put it in bricks and mortar, they're actually just, partnering with influencers on Instagram to promote going to their checkout on Instagram shop, and they're doing an exclusive drop there, where, on one day they'll go and they'll put a certain number of units there. It creates that exclusivity and also creates a kind of special experience for their consumers who are excited about that product that's coming out. And then additionally, I had mentioned that, some of the strategies are a response to how bricks and mortar networks are set up. But there are a couple more pieces of that too. So traditionally, when you're working with bricks and mortar, there's only a limited amount of shelf space. So that means you can only sell a certain amount of SKUs in store. You might have a little bit more of an extended catalog online, but generally a lot of brands have a lot of different styles, a lot of different fashions, even more sizes, and those may not make them on the shelf in stores. And so marketplaces has been a really great avenue for brands to be able to showcase those extensions of their product lines, product adjacencies. And then also, if you think about complementary products. So I had, a brand talk to me about, okay, well, if I have a customer who's buying like this specific product in the store, whenever they need like a replacement part or if they need a complementary part, it's a lot easier for them to find it online than have to go back to that specific store and look for that one specific part that may not be there. They may have to buy the whole item again. And so replacement parts is also a really interesting category that has a great niche on marketplace settings. And then last, like a lot of brands are really interested in creating those relationships with their customers. So whenever you're employing these direct fulfillment strategies, you are getting more first party data about who is purchasing your product, where in the journey are there, how are they looking at your, like if you have a Shopify site, how are they looking at your web page and what's that conversion like? So you have access to a lot more first party data. You're able to create a stronger relationship. You're able to chat directly, with your customer in the case of your own websites to work with them through customer service and things like that too. And I think that relationship piece of it also is becoming more and more important to consumers as well, especially as brands are investing in their social strategies too.
I think that's a really great point. I think a lot of the customers that we've worked with, especially clients that either they're in the manufacturing side or they've done mostly business traditionally through like distributors or retailers, they don't necessarily have the mindset of engaging directly with customers. But it can be a hugely important piece of data for you to work with to be able to re-engage old customers, and there's a lot of creative ways to do that. And I think it's a very undervalued piece of information still. So.
Yeah, and on that note, Jen, I've actually know of a customer in our portfolio that's also actually made that shift, right? So traditionally worked through distributors, getting their product out to consumers that way, and then wanted to make that B2C pivot. So I do think, and I know as a consumer, there are certain brands that I'm loyal to just because they know my buying patterns or they know my interest, and I feel like they're curating, right, their strategy towards me. And I think that's another thing that we see a lot, especially with some of the larger organizations that we work with, is really their focus and prioritizing making that a strategy where they say, we want to curate different things, right, for these different buyers and consumers, right? It's going to improve the probability that they're going to go ahead and check out because they're like, oh, this is spot on. This is totally me. And then obviously being able to connect on social in like 2021 and beyond, I think obviously goes without getting into details there. But another thing on the note of social, and something, Hina, that you said that made me think of another customer is really that experience, right? So when you talked about potentially those local pop-ups where there's still a brick and mortar element, because they like that connection, that's their presence, but they do want to make that transition, right, where they're getting into the social space. And that's another way for them to kind of use these two mediums to sell, to actually make those kind of transitions, right? And it's really event-driven, campaign-based, and really, I think, particular and focused a lot of times. And I know, especially with a lot of the main Salsify users being marketing, heads or people that are really focused on marketing, they think about that because they want to, of course, as always, a lot of businesses want to track that ROI, even if it comes back to a campaign that we did, that we spent, X amount of effort on. What did that translate to? And I know we're probably going to get into some really cool stuff around even the event tracking as it relates to the commerce, but all good stuff. So now we are going to transition into some more of the Salsify specific stuff. So obviously, Hina knows the ins and outs of the platform on the Salsify side. So I'm going to let her just educate us a little bit on why Salsify, made the decision to trek into this space. And then we'll get into some more cool stuff.
Absolutely. So in terms of our product area and why Salsify was interested in getting in this, was that we were looking to make the shift from product XM into commerce XM. So how do we make sure that we can help brands at each stage of the journey that they need help in? And we've created a really great product around product content optimization. We have a lot of really great direct connections to, everything from the largest retailers to, mid-tier to, some of the more tail connections. And we wanted to really be able to help brands who are stepping into this strategy with marketplaces on that inventory and order side. So we have this product, it's called Salsify for Marketplace Commerce. And what it is an inventory and order data exchange that's helping brands connect to their marketplace, social, and direct to consumer endpoints. And so if you're a brand and you're interested in connecting to Facebook or Instagram or Shopify, eBay, you could employ your IT teams to create these direct connections with each one of them or work out of all their respective portals. But what's also I wanted to do was be able to create like one easy connection to Salsify, and then you would be able to have access to the endpoints that we're supporting. So for example, if, I had a customer who was selling with us on Facebook, and we were able to help them get their Facebook shop up and enabled once Facebook shop had launched last year. And they were saying, hey, I'm also interested in expanding my buy on Google strategy, because right now I do Google ads, but I don't actually have checkout on that platform. And I noticed that I have a lot of traffic that's coming to my website from buy on Google. And so with the product, you're really easily able to, add the extra channel. And since you're already integrated with the inventory and orders part, adding each incremental channel makes it a lot easier. And so you're able to expand your strategy from, just marketplaces to include social and D2C or, whatever order you might be doing that in. Some of the features that we have are on the inventory side. We have smart inventory allocation. So we take in a singular inventory feed and then take out the guesswork of how much inventory to send where. So part of the challenge of managing each one of these connections separately is you have to make the decisions on how much inventory needs to be forecasted for each one of the endpoints. And in this way, you don't have to do that. We are looking at your inventory feeds every time a new event is created in our systems. And when we think about that, we're thinking about every time a customer's made a sale, every time you send us a new inventory feed, we're reevaluating that inventory to make sure that brands are in stock everywhere that customers want to purchase that product from. In addition to that, we aggregate all the orders from the endpoint. So rather than having to deal with each separate portal, you're able to get all your order information in a standardized format across each one of your endpoints, making it easy also to add other destinations along the line. But once you're set up on one, you're able to get set up on the other ones very quickly because your ERP is able to digest that data in that way. And then last, I think since the inventory and orders product is an extension off, the product content optimization side of the house that we have a really great, sort of like our bread and butter, it creates this virtuous cycle between content optimization and those activities that go along with that and your direct fulfillment sales. So, if you undergo a project where you're putting up new videos for your detail pages, and so you would be able to put, some kind of an event, I'll show that shortly, in the platform, and then you can see how did your sales on your marketplace channels react for those specific products after you did that. And then you're able to see some of the correlations between the events or the activities you're taking on the marketing and branding side, what effect did they have on your sales, then being able to create that cycle where you're able to keep moving on and being able to keep increasing those sales, which is exciting to be able to pair that with each other.
Yeah, I think that's all great stuff. And I know for our customers, that is a constant conversation, right? Whether it be tied directly to, hey, we went on this initiative, the implementation of a tool like Salsify was part of that. How do we show the benefits? How do we show the ROI? And then expansion is always on the journey for our customers when we talk about, okay, now you're operating at an efficient level, let's start doing business better. So I love the conversation about being able to have those insights and pivot when you need to, and then obviously continue what you're doing well. But with all of that being said, I think maybe we should show the attendees some of these things that we were just chatting through.
Sure, absolutely. So since we were just talking about the ROIs and the dashboards, I'll jump into that first. So here you can see the Salsify dashboard for commerce. And so this lives under this commerce tab, under dashboard. And what we have here, we actually just recently rolled out a bunch of new updates to this page, which is why I'm really excited about it. But you can filter by date, you can filter by channel to see how things are trending by, like, if you want to just look at your Amazon sales, if you want to look at your Amazon sales compared to your Walmart sales, you're able to check that out on the graph. You can see your sales broken down by all the channels that you're selling on. And what we really think is cool is when we're talking about how do I tie in my ROI of my activities with my sales, is we built out this data visualization on this performance chart to really help illustrate exactly that. So right now we have a couple events that are populated, but you can go in really easily and say, okay, like I ran this price promotion back in January, and it was for New Year, New You. I ran it on Amazon, but I also did some promotions within my Shopify website. I did it on a set of shoes, and then you can assign like a little icon and a color, and then any notes that you want to have for your team to include in there about, like, could be run dates, it could be anything you want to include. And then you can create that event and it will populate right on this graph. And so then you're able to look at this and see how your sales are trending. Okay, so I had this price promotion. I saw that, my sales went up. And then as soon as I was off promotion, they started coming down a little bit. And then you're able to click in here and get a little bit more details on what specifically was going on with this event, which I think is like a really interesting way to be able to, take the screenshot and be able to send it to someone else on your team to say, like, hey, this is how some of our activities are advancing on this. And so we want to do something similar for Halloween or, any other upcoming holidays that you may think may face similar trends. Additionally, we also have a module at the bottom for most popular products. And as I was mentioning before, like, one of the value props of having inventory and orders as part of Salsify is it does sit alongside your PIM. So all the products that are viewable in our part of the product just takes you back to your PIM page. One note for anyone who's on the call, this is a complete mock demo organization. So all these products, it's all mock data, and any other information that you see in here, it's all completely made up. In case that question might come up. And so we sit right alongside all your PIM details. And so you're able to check that out. And then we have product level insights under this D2C performance tab, where you can go in and also drill down by date or channel specific by product. And if you've added events that include products, those events will cascade down here. And so you would be able to see whatever specific event would land here. And then you can add product specific events. Some of the enhancements that we're making to this specific page over the course of the next couple of months is adding more automated events to this. So one example would be product stockouts. So if you see, a lull of 0 sales, is it because no one was visiting the page, or is it because you were out of stock? And so if you're out of stock, you would have like a little bar showing that the product was out of stock. And one thing you can be able to see is if your normal run rate's up here and then you go out of stock and then you come back over here, that's probably because your SEO was affected from being out of stock. A lot of retailers will knock down listings if they are out of stock. And then, sometimes getting back to that same run rate afterwards can be difficult. But this is the way where you can sort of illustrate that story of like, hey, we need to put some marketing power behind this product because it's a great seller for us. But out of this out of stock period, you weren't able to get back up to that normal run rate. So these are the kinds of conversations we're hoping this product will help elicit, and then also really be able to demonstrate the ROI for specific activities.
I know you mentioned some really cool things with the inventory management earlier in terms of allocating to the different channels. But before we look at that, what kind of methods do you have available for integrations with the existing systems as well? Because I think one of the concerns that I've heard is just making sure that, as clients explore some of these other channels, that doesn't, mess up anything with their existing fulfillment.
Oh, absolutely. So we sit alongside, a warehouse management system that would be handling the pick, pack, and ship part of that process. And so our product would integrate with a brand's ERP. And one thing with our product is we're ERP agnostic. So it's not that you have to fit a certain list of softwares that integrate with our product. We have specific data output and input formats where you can connect with us via SFTP, or you can do it via an API connection, whatever the brand prefers. And so long as you're able to, ingest data in that format and be able to send us data in the format that we need, then you can absolutely get connected. So we've really tried to make sure that we are agnostic to specific systems, such that customers or brands who are at any point in their journey as they're doing direct fulfillment would be able to connect with us. So I know you had a question about inventory also. So we do have an inventory page where you can see all of your products listed and where they're listed. So one thing we heard from brands was, I have this marketplace strategy. Some brands are doing so this is an example of all products in all places, but some brands are doing it differently. They wanted to have a place where they could go and view their assortment. And so in a way, be able to create some kind of assortment management tool so that they could see gaps in assortment, or where there could be certain products that need to be listed somewhere that aren't listed there. And so we added this listed on column. So it's really easy for a brand to see where their product is being sold. And then if you click into any of these products, you can see exactly how many units are being sent to each and every platform, and the last time that feed was updated, along with open orders for them. You will notice that we do keep a certain amount of safety stock. It's roughly 10% of the inventory that's available. The reason why we do this is because we're really trying to prevent brands from overselling. We know that overselling does not create a great experience for the end consumer. And so we want to make sure that we've reserved a little bit of an inventory in case we see a little bit of a sales hike, that we're able to redistribute that inventory accordingly across all the different channels.
Yeah, and Henna, one thing that you showed a bit earlier was really about how the product side of the platform. So when we think about our customers that are utilizing Salsify, as a PIM, managing their products, a lot of times employing workflows, right? So they have this process that's defined, and they really want something that's seamless. So can you just talk a bit about the connections, whether it be workflow or notification based, that exists between the two features, if you will?
Oh, absolutely. So our product is fully integrated with the other areas of the product. As you mentioned, like workflow is one that generates so much value for our brands. And one way that we've seen that it really enhances our product is in the way that we use it for a lot of alerts and monitoring. So we have customers that when they will integrate with us, they'll set up a workflow, which will send them an email with all the orders that are, within 24 hours of their ship date. And so actually can jump over to our orders tab. We collect the ship date from all of our marketplace endpoints, depending on what the shipping status or shipping speed that the end consumer picked was. And so, if for some reason something falls through the cracks, they're able to get that alert via email saying, here are all the orders that should be managed. And so we have a number of different workflows like that helps with the management and streamlining of the orders fulfillment process, so that, brands don't have to be they're able to have a more hands-on approach as they're fulfilling orders.
Good stuff. And I'm doing a time check here on my side. But Tracy, are there any questions that maybe you want to utilize the last few minutes to run through?
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. Someone said, our items are already on marketplaces like Facebook. Does it make sense for us to use commerce and employ a marketplace strategy?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the examples I had given before was about the one brand who had seen their products were being sold on eBay, like used versions of their products. But generally, most brands can go search on, Walmart Marketplace, eBay, and others, and see that resellers are selling their products. So their products are in demand on these marketplaces that they may not be selling directly on, and why not capture those sales? So why not have your product there with, the most robust product content and coming directly from the manufacturer to be able to create that best experience for your end consumer? So I would say absolutely yes.
Okay, that's great. All right, and we have another one. It says, what's the difference between this and drop ship?
That's a good question. So if you think about it logistically, dropship is very similar to direct fulfillment because the origination of the package starts at the brand and the end of that journey is with the customer. In the case of dropship, that is technically a first party sale. And so if you were a dropship vendor with Walmart, for example, when Walmart sells the product, it is shipped by the manufacturer, but sold by Walmart. So in the case of direct fulfillment, it would be shipped and sold by the brand itself. And so the brand will be able to control the pricing and things like that in that part of the experience with the customer.
Okay.
There are a few other nuances on the data side as well. So a lot of dropship orders will come via EDI, and then direct fulfillment ones will come in a different data format. And so that's the data format that we help customers with. So we standardize data formats across all the different endpoints, which you can see here if you click into, like, say, the Shopify order. We standardize this information. And then if I click into another order, you'll see that it's in the same format. And on the back end, similar. And so whenever you're sending back any kind of fulfillment data as well, this is basically a mirror of what you see on the back end, but you'd send us fulfillment data in the same way. And so the standardization we do takes some of the guesswork out for the brands instead of having to create different kinds of data use cases for each portal they're going to.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things in seeing this product. And for me is the centralization and how, to your point, these things are consolidated. So you're not managing the formats for X amount of different, channels and partners, right? So it really kind of is a one-stop shop there. So I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, do we have anything else, Tracy?
Nope, that is all of our questions that we have right now. So if anyone has any, you can feel free to pop them in real quick. However, other than that, I am going to begin wrapping things up. Give it a moment to see if we have any come in. I think you guys did a wonderful job today. This this seems really useful.
Thanks, Tracy.
All right, so we'll get into our closing remarks, and I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us for this webinar today. Amitra, Hina, and Jen, great job. You've taught us a lot about commerce inside of Salsify, and I think that everybody is going to be able to do a lot going forward with that. As with all of our webinars, we will be sending out a recording of this, and if you have any other further questions, you can send those directly to us or respond to the email that you're going to get with that recording. The email, you can send any of your questions or comments, or if you would like some additional expertise on this specific topic, you can contact us at experts@goamplify.com. And if you have any additional requests as far as like upcoming topics for our Ask the Experts webinars, we're always open to suggestions on what our viewership needs to hear. Please send them to that address as well. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.